Saddleworth Moor, a vast savannah that stretches as far as the eyes can see, dominated by silence but echoed by an eerie breeze, where playful dogs roam and the occasional sheep is seen to graze, where birds elegantly fly in the sky. But this is tragically most known for possibly the most heinous and infamous crimes in British history. This is the home of the Moors murders. Between 1963 and 1965, 4 innocent children, all at the beginning of their lives, were lured onto these moors. Their kind and caring nature pounced upon and manipulated by pure evil. Once they arrived on this daunting plain, they were savagely killed before being buried and then abandoned. These ruthless murders were carried out by the infamous Myra Hindley and Ian Brady, a young couple with a shared and twisted interest in sadism and cruelty. Believing they were destined for a life of killing and getting away with it, only to find out their true destiny lay ahead. Eternal incarceration. These acts of evil left behind 5 devastated families who have spent their whole lives searching for answers. How and why? One of the victims was 12-year-old John Kilbride, abducted from Ashton Market in 1963 and found in a shallow grave in 1965. But who was the boy in the picture before his life was so brutally stolen? What were those 2 years like while he was missing? John's brother Terry and Anne, who speaks on the behalf of her late husband, Danny Kilbride, will now tell their story, how it's affected their lives, and share with us some exclusive information never before heard. Was John the oldest?
Yeah.
Was he the leader at all?
If there were ever any trouble, John would be the leader then.
Okay.
Apart from that, he more or less did his own thing with lads at his own age.
What hobbies and interests did John have as a kid?
He liked drawing. He liked his football.
Typical lad likes his football.
Oh yeah. We were just into everything, like logging for the bonfire and stuff like that all together when we were very little, you know, trying to carry a full tree with a cloth instead of chopping it up before we moved it.
You're carrying a full tree back?
Trying to do, yeah. There were about 500 kids off street.
You don't see that sort of stuff these days, do you?
Stuff like that.
Everyone's got their heads in iPads and whatnot these
giving
days.
me a doggy back up to bed and stuff like that, you know, I can remember. And
What were John's best qualities? And if you could have one of them, which one would you have?
John, as a person,
I like that answer.
he was comical, funny, always whistling.
What was he whistling?
Zeckas.
He's always whistling that.
Yeah, he always knew when he was coming home. But we never heard it that night, did we?
Was he happy at home?
Oh,
And
yeah.
did he have a good relationship with his parents and with his brothers and sisters, with yourselves?
Yes and no. It was a very happy home when my dad hadn't been out on piss. You know, and he'd not been out boozing.
I can relate to that.
Yeah,
Maybe cut that out.
I think a lot of families then can relate to that.
Did you look up to John when you was a kid?
I think we all did.
All the siblings?
Yeah, I think we all did. I think a lot of the lads did, you know, on the street and that, because he like I say, he were a Roman. He got stuck in and mucked in with everything like everybody else did.
Yeah.
You know, going newting for newts and that with big baskets, throwing it in the pond and bringing it back and playing with newts on, having races with them, you know, and stuff like that.
What's your favourite memory together, Terry?
I think my favourite memory with John was the last time I saw him. When I was going out the door on the Saturday morning when we were going to play football. John was getting he were up helping my mum and he were having his breakfast and that, and he was like, see you later, and off I went. You know, that's my last memory of John, but one of my favourite ones.
So it's a good memory, it's a good final memory. How long had John been working at Ashton Market?
He'd been doing it for a short, well, I won't say a long, long while, from when he turned 12, I'd say.
So quite recent to when he disappeared from there.
Down and getting the odd job on there and just to earn a couple of bob, you know, and then bring it home, give it to my mum and then she'd give him half back.
I was going to say, what did he do with his pay?
Yeah.
He gave, so he half to Sheila.
Yeah.
And he'd get half for himself.
And he'd get half back. And that was the norm.
What I'm going to talk about on the next part is John actually going missing and how it affected yourself and the rest of the family in that period of time, which was, is that right to think it was 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years, which was like a lifetime.
Did your mum know he was at work that day?
She'd suspected with him not coming home from being at the picture house.
He was at the cinema.
Yeah.
And then did he go to the Ashton Market afterwards?
That's right, yeah.
To innocently go and help with some boxes.
Yeah,
a bit of
and that's how he got picked up, you know. Can you help with these boxes, you know. In that 2 years, I mean, there was a lot. I mean, my mum especially, were travelling all over the place, you know, getting trains, going buses and different towns and that, searching, you know.
I bet there was nowhere she didn't search, was there?
She was everywhere. You know, sometimes we went with her and other times, you know, she'd be out on her own. And it was just the house, looking for a word, went dead.
Yeah.
Because it was a happy house. It was always singing in the house. And when my mum was baking or ironing or washing or whatever she was doing, she'd be singing. And it just went completely.
Must have been so hard. Did you ever fear that you or your brothers or sister could be abducted as well?
Oh yeah, well you do. I mean,
paranoia sets in, does it?
In them days, the education weren't brilliant.
Yeah.
All we wanted to do was play out, go and play football, go and do this, go and do the other.
Yeah.
But we couldn't go past that tree and we couldn't go past that lamppost.
Is it true that Brady would sit outside your house whilst John was missing on his motorbike?
Yes.
Watching you come and go?
Yes.
Getting some sort of sick kick out of it?
Yes, but obviously
you didn't know. It was just a man on a motorbike.
Exactly.
That's a new level of twisted, isn't it?
Well, it's twisted, twisted, aren't they? Both of them twisted. I think, to be honest, I think she was worse than him.
Without her to entice
if she didn't lure the kids in,
yeah,
they'd still been here now.
Brady couldn't have got them into his car, could he?
No,
because he was a
bad man.
What a 20-odd-year-old blonde woman, probably putting on the sweet voice,
yes,
and the charm.
Yeah.
Come with me, help me move this box. Can you help me find a glove? Yeah.
Well, that's how it was in them days. You were that naive.
Yeah.
You'd have done it. You know, you're that naive, you'd have done it.
How were Christmases while John was missing?
Well,
Did they happen? Did your mum have to...
My mum still bought birthday presents and Christmas presents.
Can you tell us about what Sheila would do at dinner time? Because I've heard and I've read that she would still put a placemat out and a chair out.
Yeah.
Was this for every day for the 2 years?
2 years the chair went out. Not every day, on a Sunday meal.
Yeah, the big day.
The big day where we all sat round for like a Sunday roast or whatever in their days, you know, that they do.
Yeah.
And the chair was
waiting for him to walk back in through the door.
Yeah.
Hoping, praying, all of you.
all open. But it makes you think, going back to the parent view, I think now growing up, they must have been thinking, he's never coming back.
Would they ever sort of air that, or
No.
would they keep that to themselves?
Never ever air it at all, my mum. Or my dad. My dad was very quiet all through the years. You know, about it. He kept an hell of a lot in.
Yeah.
My dad. He let it out, fighting in the boozers and stuff like that.
That's when his anger would then come out.
Yeah.
Do you think that they were protecting the other, you and your siblings, by keeping that in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've always protected us.
Yeah.
All their lives they protected us. More so my mother.
Did your parents become extra vigilant?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, we couldn't go out with the garden for I don't know how long.
And I bet she was always watching, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Even though you were just on the front.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't only be my mum. I think you'd have a million eyes out on you.
Did you notice the streets quieted?
The streets went very, very quiet to what they used to be.
Did you and your brothers and sisters have much time off school in the time that he was missing?
Not really.
No.
Not really, no. It was, my mum was a stickler for us going to school.
Did John always come straight home from work when he finished?
Yeah.
So did the alarm bells go off?
Always came home. The alarm bells went off around about 6:30.
What led to John being discovered?
Edward Evans.
Edward Evans.
I've always said, I know it's not a nice thing to say, but thank God for Edward Evans. If he had not have picked Edward Evans up at the railway station like he did, none of us would have ever known.
Edward Evans was the Moors murder's fifth and final victim, and he too was intended to be buried on Saddleworth Moor. But thanks to the bravery of Dave Smith, this never happened, thus starting the beginning of the end for Brady and Hindley.
Could still be a mystery to this day, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, it would be. I mean, even then, after what he did to Edward, if it hadn't been for David Smith being there, none of all this would have come out.
Dave Smith was the husband of Myra's sister Maureen. Brady and Hindley thought they could engulf Dave into their sick games, but they were sorely mistaken. Their fantasy of having a third Moors murderer couldn't have backfired anymore, as Dave Smith ended up becoming the chief prosecution witness at the trial and ultimately put an end to the Moors murder saga.
Now, did you ever suspect Dave Smith was part of the...
We always did. We always suspected that he was part of it, but as we grew up older, I think we realised, you know, he saw something there that absolutely scared him to death.
Yeah.
You know, we knew he was a rogue.
Yeah.
A bit of a rogue, but he was only kidding himself. He was only, 16, 17?
16 or 17, yeah.
You know.
Whereabouts on the moors was John found, and how was he identified?
A shoe.
A shoe?
A shoe, a winkle-picker shoe, with an hole in it, with a piece of cardboard inside.
Was the cardboard there to make him a... Was that to strengthen?
To try and stop it leaking.
Do you know where the shoe is now?
Well, it'll be at archives now. I mean, the night they brought it home, we got kicked upstairs, all of us. Well, we thought we were upstairs. We were sat halfway on the stairs, you know.
Listening.
Apart from Danny. You know, with him being the oldest lad then.
Yeah.
When John had gone missing, like, you know, and they found the shoe, and my dad said he could stay in the room. You know, while they identified the shoe and everything. And
I bet he insisted. He insisted on that, didn't he?
Danny did insist, yeah. He did insist.
What was the emotion when you realised it was John's shoe? Was there any relief there at all?
It's hard. It was hard. I mean, I was only a kid, so I'm thinking, easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mum only told me and Pat. Well, Danny had told us first, you know what I mean? But my mum only told me and Pat. She didn't tell the girls until a few weeks after.
Do you remember how your parents instantly reacted?
Oh, I remember my dad screaming.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. My dad screaming. Not my mum. Not my mum. I think it was that much of a shock, or she knew it was coming. You know what I mean?
Almost like she was preparing for this moment, but your dad was still clinging on for some hope.
It was a scream off my dad.
Is it a scream you've never heard before off him?
Well, that weren't my dad, like I say. He was an hard man. He was, you know, he won't even scream if we were getting his head kicked in.
Is there any police or inspectors who you feel went above and beyond and you'd like to mention? Give them a bit of a shout out.
Respect to Moser. Ian Farley.
But Inspector Mousey went above and beyond.
He did go a bit above and beyond, he did.
You got a lot of respect for him?
Oh, yeah.
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 I can tell.
Plenty of respect for him.
After John was discovered to have been murdered by Brady and Hindley, did your mum and dad drift or did they get stronger?
He drifted.
That's so sad.
They drifted apart.
Did you become closer with your parents afterwards, yourself, personally? Did the relationship change at all? Did the dynamic change? Did it get better?
My mum went into it. She went into herself, my mother, and she stayed like that until, I'd say, into her 60s.
Oh, she seemed like a really sweet lady.
To speak a bit, you know, about different things, but she was a very, very, very sweet lady, my mother. No matter who you speak to will say that.
Now, speaking of Brady and Hindley, did you want them to face the death penalty? Or are you glad that they went to prison?
At the time.
At the time?
Because it had not long been abolished.
I believe it was 6 months before they were on trial, the death penalty was abolished.
Yeah, it weren't long.
In sort of a way, is it kind of a good thing that they missed the death penalty because we wouldn't have Pauline Reed?
We wouldn't have found Pauline.
Does it help knowing that John wasn't the only victim of these crimes and that 4 other families had the similar grief?
No, that don't help at all. I mean, that hurts that because of what we went through. All of us alive and still going through it.
Yeah.
Even now, they've all gone through that.
Yeah, that's
all the families have gone through it.
Yeah, that's an interesting answer. You'd rather it be. It's 4 other families having the same pain as yourself.
There's 5 victims.
Yeah, and 5 victims. 5 victims' families grieving.
5 victims' families grieving all the same. All at the same period of time. And everything. We're still all grieving. I feel really sorry for Alan, you know, his family.
Like Keith's brother, Alan Bennett.
Because he can't have closure.
Would finding Keith bring you closure?
I think it'd close the book.
Yeah.
It would close the book. It would never ever stop because there could be another book.